Hi guys, this is Tabiasobi, and today I'll be showcasing 3 sets you can use with the Shara HBG Bowgun. I guess you can call these the 3 amigos of the Solemn Reflection HBG. Now the Loyal Thunder Zinogre heavy bowgun typically gets most of the attention when it comes to, well, heavy bowguns, and for a good reason. That thing is a beast. It's not just arguably the best heavy bowgun at the moment, at least until we see what Master Rank called Taroth Bowguns have in store, but it's also arguably one of the best weapons in the game, period. Then again, variety is the spice of life. I mean, I love steak, but you gotta have fried chicken sometimes too. And I don't mean this guy. Yeah, Young Garuga is what you get when you mix 11 herbs and spices with 10 cups of cray cray. Anyway, I've decided to share 3 different sets that I use for one of my favorite heavy bowguns, the Solemn Reflection from Shara HBG. It's also the first thing I crafted with my precious Shara HBG tender plates, back when I haven't quite figured out how to get them for sure in each hunt. By the way, if you're having trouble with Shara or need some tips on how to get those tender plates for sure every hunt, make sure to check out my Shara HBG Made Cheesy guide for tips on how to do that. On that note, let's start with our first set, the Solemn Reflection Pierce build. Now, I already did a video on this as part of my Poor Man's Pierce Bowgun set, so I'll just go over this quickly. Basically, this set is for folks who have yet to get any pierced jewels and want an easy to build set with piercing shots level 2. Now to get level 2, I used a Nargacuga head with an Azure Rathalos waist. But you can also replace one of those with the Yangaruga alpha legs if you don't mind losing jewel slots compared to the beta version of that armor piece. For bowgun customizations, I used a shield and a power barrel for added piercing damage, and then for the 3 remaining slots, well, I typically switch between using 3 long-range mods or 2 long-range mods and a special scope, depending on my mood. But the idea is to just get even more damage. Anyway, this set relies heavily on proccing crits via high affinity and adding extra oomph to those critical shots with critical boost. It's basically an alternative to the Viper Kodachi and Nargacuga HBG if you want a slow yet steady pierce option that uses auto reload instead. Anyway, here's what I used for this set. Up next we have a critical draw heavy bowgun set. Wait, did I just say critical draw with a heavy bowgun? Well, yes. Yes, I did. Now first off, this wasn't my idea. I actually learned about this like way back in September while I was going through the car wash of all places, and decided to pass the time by checking nifty's YouTube channel, which is one of the Japanese Monster Hunter YouTubers that I'm subscribed to. Anyway, on that day, it just so happened that nifty uploaded a video titled Sen Daimiji wo koeru sogeki hebi no Kurachu Batto Jutsu Gai Getsunai. Gosh, that was a long one. Yeah, so that basically translates to a critical draw clutch heavy bowgun build that surpasses 1000 damage. Something along those lines. Yeah, seriously, if you haven't had a chance to do so yet, make sure to check out nifty's channel. One reason I like nifty is because the guy is not only a skilled player, but also likes to put together some pretty interesting builds, including several that are focused on fun as opposed to just what's meta at the moment. Anyway, the main principle behind the critical draw heavy bowgun build is to use critical draw 3 to basically get a critical hit every time you draw your heavy bowgun to attack a monster's head while grappling it with the clutch claw. This allows you to potentially do a lot of damage on the head depending on the skills that you have equipped. Now to make this work, there are certain requirements. One is to use a heavy bowgun with Wyvern Snipe instead of Wyvern Heart, because critical draw only works on the first hit after you draw your weapon, so Wyvern Heart won't work as well because it does its damage over multiple shots, whereas Wyvern Snipe does it in one blow. One super meaty blow. The next requirement is to use a heavy bowgun with high raw. Now, nifty's original build uses the Diablo's Horn King Blazooka HBG because it can be paired with non-elemental boost. That means its display draw, not to be confused with true raw, goes up from 435 to about 456.75 or 457 pretty much based on the math. Now that's higher than the 450 that you get from the heavy bowguns with the highest base raw values like Devil Joe and Shara HBG. The catch is that it requires adding some points to critical eye in order to make up for the weapon's negative affinity. As such, I ended up using the Shara heavy bowgun because it sports the highest raw, alongside the Devil Joe and Zora heavy bowguns, but without the negative affinity that those two other heavy bowguns have. So by not having to gem in critical eye, I could add other attack boosting skills that would theoretically get me past the Diablo's heavy bowgun. Now once you get critical eye maxed out, the next requirement is to get max critical boost, since it makes your crits do 40% extra damage as opposed to just 25%. That's why I decided to use one of my favorite armor set pieces, the Shara Ishvalda arms. Another requirement is 4 pieces of Volcano armor, so you get Frostcraft, which further increases your damage when drawing a weapon and then attacking afterwards. So just equip Volcano pieces for your remaining 4 slots. The final piece of the puzzle involves using 4 close range mods to further boost your damage. I also threw in a shield because, well, I've always used shields in my heavy bowgun since try. So once you have all of that, you now have the core build for the critical draw heavy bowgun. What you do next depends on your preferences, whether you want to be comfy by adding health boost and guard skills, or want to go all out with attack. In my case, I went all out with attack, and I actually got it to a point where I was doing 1000 plus damage on the training area's practice dummy. Now against actual monsters, I was actually getting lower numbers, but I remember nifty eventually doing 1000 plus later in the hunt against Velkhana, and I'm assuming it's because he had other skills in there like Coalescence or something else. Either way, it's like doing something close to greatsword damage with a clutch claw heavy bowgun attack, so it's pretty nifty. Naturally, I decided to test this build for the first time against one of the monsters I hate to hunt, Kushala Daora. Why I thought it was a great idea to test this thing against a monster that constantly spams wind all around it, I have no idea. But I did, and admittedly it got a bit hair-raising at times. But you know what? Just like Michael Jackson, I beat it. I beat the darn thing with this cheesy, critical draw, solemn reflection set. So yeah, Kushala Daora can reflect on that. Solemnly. At the very least, it proves that this thing works, though it might be harder to use against monsters that are tough to constantly clutch on the head, like Rajang or Odogaron. Anyway, here's the setup for the critical draw build. And finally, we have set number 3, which is the sticky build. Yeah, thanks to its ability to auto-reload sticky 3 ammo, I consider the Solemn Reflection as one of the best sticky bowguns in the game. Now with any sticky build, you definitely want to have artillery, which raises your damage significantly. After that, you'll want KO or Slugger as well, in order to increase your chances of toppling down a monster, or knocking it the heck out. Now there's usually a debate on whether you should go Artillery 5 or Slugger 3, versus Artillery 3 with Slugger 5. Since getting the level 5 boost for either of those two requires a 3-piece armor set bonus. So that means you can't have level 5 artillery and level 5 slugger at the same time. So you need to pick one to prioritize. Now I happen to be in the camp of artillery 5 with slugger 3, because I think it's always good to get extra consistent damage through the course of a hunt, as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 more extra KOs. Now the extra KO might be great for multiplayer, but unless other folks are running KO setups as well, you might not even be able to proc those KOs as much as you like, or at least compared to how much you proc them when you're doing solo hunts. And that's largely because of the scaled up monster values for a multiplayer. Plus, the benefits of going from Artillery 3 to 5, I think, are much greater than going from Slugger 3 to Slugger 5. Anyway, I ended up equipping 3 Zora pieces, so I could unlock Artillery Artillery Secret, gosh, it's such a tongue twister, and then get that up to level 5. I also picked the Alpha pieces for the head, chest, and waist, so I could get 5 points of Artillery, essentially for free. So even with the reduced jewel slots, it kind of makes it worth it. By the way, sticky and explosive shots do not benefit from crits, so you don't need to slot in critical eye or critical boost. What you pick for the arms and legs depends on your preference. In my case, I opted to go for quality of life and comfort, as boosting your attack doesn't quite translate to a ton of gains with sticky ammo, so I picked the Uragan legs for its guard skills, and the Black Veil Valazak arms for recovery up and speed eating. I also gemmed in Quick Sheath, so I could stow away my weapon faster when I need to. Like, you know, those times you get smacked around and you need to heal real quick. As far as Bowgun customizations, I put a shield for defense, and a power barrel to help with stunning and exhausting monsters. I tested the long range mods, and they only added a piddly amount of damage to sticky shots. You also don't need reload or recoil mods for sticky 3, so I ended up throwing in 3 close range mods, which add a nice amount of damage to your Wyvern ammo. To further round out the set, I also maxed out special ammo boosts to get more damage from Wyvern Snipe. So yeah, the idea behind this build is to cycle between sticky 3, Wyvern Snipe, and Wyvern ammo depending on the situation, but mostly use sticky 3, since that's your bread and butter. I also threw in a Razor Sharp Charm, basically to proc the spare shot skill, which has a chance of giving you like a free shot when you're shooting the enemy. So it's really good for not just sticky ammo, but sometimes it'll proc when you fire a Wyvern shot, allowing you to fire like a second one right away. Anyway, here's the setups for the sticky build. Okay, so there you go. 3 fun sets to use with the Solemn Reflection. So what build do you normally use with your Solemn Reflection heavy bowgun? As always, please feel free to leave any thoughts or questions you may have in the comment section. Once again, this is Tabi Asobi, and thank you for watching.